I left Indonesia and entered Malaysia. I started off in KL, Kuala Lumpur, but everybody calls it KL. And I stayed at a really, really cute hostel that was super artsy, had a noodle shop next door, and made some friends. We went to a night market, which was a really popular one in KL. Did a walking tour where we got to see some different museums and temples, including this Chinese Buddhist temple. Something really special about Malaysia is you have such a mix of Chinese, Malay, Indonesian, Indian, such a mix, which also leads to Peranakan. On the tour, we walked around, saw a lot of different street art, the river, and then I headed to the Batu Caves. A huge Hindu temple is a part of these caves, and aside from the statues, it was incredibly cool how close the monkeys were. And look at the little babies. They were so cute and they were so close to us. They were so used to humans. And then I changed hostels because I decided to stay an extra night, and my new one had a rooftop pool. So that was the view from the night. This is the view from the morning. And then I left to go to an adorable town 2 hours to the south called Malacca. This was my hostel in Malacca, or the common area of it. Malacca has a bunch of Portuguese, Dutch, and obviously Malay heritage. And as usual, there's a mix of Malaysians, Indians, and Chinese that are citizens living there. I ate some really yummy food, such as this babur, and I spent a lot of time in a variety of cafes. This was an especially quirky one. I don't even know exactly what was going on here, but there was a lot of cool art and designs and fun things in every sort of crevice and corner, and I really just love to wander around. So I just stumbled upon this without a plan. It wasn't on some Lonely Planet recommended list, or maybe it was, but I just wandered around. And then I kept wandering, and I ended up finding a different cafe. And then I sat there and journaled for a while in that cute little seat. And yeah, it was on and off pouring, as it is becoming the rainy season in this part of Southeast Asia. But I have a rain jacket, so I walked around anyway. The Jonker Walk is like the food market area with lots of shops. I bought savory, I bought sweet. I watched some other food get made that I did not purchase, but it was really fun and really cool to see all of these different food options. And one of the artisans, him and his wife were deaf, so we spent a bunch of time chatting, like 30 minutes. I practiced my ASL, or I suppose International Sign Language, because they had not learned American Sign Language. Then I took the overnight bus, and I saw this sunrise when I arrived to Penang, which is about 7 hours north of where I originally was, 5 hours north of KL. I came to the beach where these cool painted surfboards were just stuck in the sand. I took a nap because I didn't sleep for the full time on the overnight bus. Unfortunately, someone was snoring. And then I had some yummy lunch at the restaurant part of this resort right along the beach, which was super cute. It was a really quiet beach. I was one of maybe 5 people sitting there. And then I went back to my hotel in Penang they looked like hot tubs, but one was cold, so it was really more just like a teeny tiny pool. Walked around a bit more, and a friend that I had met in KL, who was also in Penang, was then also coming to, was in Malacca, then came to Penang, so I got to see a chocolate museum, and learn some cool, interesting things, and then he came to join for some other tours. This specific historical museum is the Penang Peranakan Mansion, and it's a traditional mansion of a baba and a nonya, which is when a Chinese man who immigrated to Malaysia to work married a Malay woman. And this was passed down through a few generations, I think 3 or 5, and it was donated to become a museum. It was really cool. It had a gorgeous temple attached, a Chinese Buddhist temple as part of the house, and it was just really impressive to see how well kept it was. All of these painted clay designs were were like unscathed, and it had been hundreds of years. Even in the kitchen, there were many original pots and pans, porcelain, cutlery, etc., from many generations of being in this house, and it was super impressive and really cool. Then I spent some time at this puppy and reptile cafe, Hounds and something. I cannot recall the exact name. There were like 20 dachshunds. Let me be particular, just dachshunds, not a variety of different dogs. And then there were a bunch of snakes. That white snake and I bonded for like 30 minutes, and she curled up all around me and like yawned and chilled out. And I've never bonded with a reptile that much, but it happened. And there's something cool about like snakes and cats having a different energy and only liking certain people. So I really appreciated that. There was one like teeny tiny little puppy, this one right here, and some of the slightly bigger dogs were giving it a hard time, which was kind of hilarious. But this was the only like animal cafe that I did. I've passed a bunch of cat cafes in all the different countries and cities I've been in, but I haven't gone to them. Here's one of the food halls that I went to. I had already eaten dinner, so I got like a crispy Chinese pancake dessert with some Nutella. The next day, we had some glorious dim sum, and then we went to this really cool food museum called Wonder Food. Obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, but if you're watching this, you probably know me, so you know that I'm obsessed with food, and I'm especially obsessed with things that are kind of like strange and weird as compared to their usual selves, maybe upside down or too big or too small or something kind of strange like that. So I especially thought that it was really cool to see things that were like, food should be fun. Food is our common universal experience. And if you know me, you definitely know I'm obsessed with things that are way smaller or way bigger than they're supposed to be. So all of these miniatures living in a city of candy were way too cute for me, and I was super duper obsessed. There were also things that were gigantic, as you can see, such as these desserts, all different types of desserts. There's no love sincerer than the love of food. I'm not sure if George Bernard Shaw was 100% right on that one, because, I don't know, there are a lot of sincere loves. But I will say that this museum was totally epic. And then we went to Keklok Si, a super, super famous temple, huge, multi-storied, like, property of a temple. There were a bunch of turtles there, and then as you go up, you see more of the Buddhist structures. There are monks that live here at this monastery, but I didn't see very many, only a handful. And as you continue to walk up, you make your way closer and closer towards one especially big statue. But there are a lot of different rooms for prayer. I didn't pray, but it was really beautiful to see people making wishes on these ribbons, or going to pray, or lighting candles, or different things of that nature. I think it's really wonderful that you can have people worshiping in Buddhist temples or in mosques or in Indian Hindu temples, but I thought it was especially important to visit the Jewish cemetery, considering Malaysia is pretty politically anti-Semitic these days, and there are no living Jews here. I thought I would leave my towel on my head instead of taking it off, because if you know me, you know that I live for a turby twist, and I packed like one of those quick dry towels that's big and one of them that's small for all my travels, so sometimes I use it as a turby. So I wanted to keep this short and sweet, like me. But I wanted to take a little bit of time to reflect a bit of Malaysia. You just saw a bunch of cool things I did and food I ate and etc. For KL, Kuala Lumpur, and then Malacca in the south a bit, and then Penang in the north a bit, before I left for Bangkok, which is where I'm filming from. But there are a few things that I thought were really important that I wanted to take a moment to reflect on. The anti-Semitism is real. I saw graffiti about, I don't even want to say it, but just negative graffiti. There are no outward Jews that are living in Malaysia anymore. And even from like a Christian male traveler friend that I made, he felt like the really intense conservative Muslim attitudes felt a bit stifling, like separate women and men in different parts of the subway and things of that nature. The anti-Semitism, I mean, I took my necklace off and then I put it back on when I got to Bangkok, but the anti-Semitism may be occurring and prevailing. I didn't get harassed. I mean, I don't think I look outwardly traditionally Jewish. My name isn't necessarily traditionally Jewish. But I do think that it was really important, even if it was scary, to visit the Jewish cemetery in Penang. There's a British man, I think, who helps do the organizing or owns the property. Obviously, I made a donation to go and visit, but there's a groundskeeper who is not Jewish, Malay, and he didn't speak too much English, but I said, like, oh, do you live here? He said, yeah, there's sort of two shacks, kind of like shanty created houses, structures on the side of the cemetery. And he said that he lived there, and he said that he grew up there because his dad used to be the groundskeeper, and his mom and his sister, all of them, they used to live there, and he lives there and takes care of the land. And I said, you know, when I make donations, does this money come, like, do you get paid? Does this money come to you? And he said, yes, of course. So, that was that last footage that you just saw. Obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, but I got emotional when I was walking around there because, I don't know, since last October, things having to do with Jewish people and death feel like a heightened sense of reality and emotion. But I also felt a bit emotional at the fact that it felt like I had to hide my Judaism in order to stay safe. And that felt really unfortunate. But on the positive side, something really cool about Malaysia is a really beautiful blending of the main three cultures / countries / religions, maybe even four. You have like the Malay people who have been more indigenous to that land, over hundreds of years. It had various European occupiers and colonizers and etc. But there were always Malay people there. And then you have a large population of Chinese that have been coming the past few hundred years, especially because it was a prime spot for trade, as well as mining for tin and other things of that nature. And you have a lot of people from India. So on the same street, you might see like a mosque, you might see an Indian Hindu temple, and then you might see a Chinese Buddhist temple. And they all kind of do their thing, and they respect each other. And as I was driving to the airport, I was looking out the window, and there was like an adorable workout class for elderly people. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. And the driver was like, yeah, you can have people that are like from India, from China, the Muslims from here, like all doing their workout class together. And I was like, yeah, that's so special. That's so nice. So I will say that there's a level of blending of those three cultures, or staying distinctively in their lanes, but like they can all sit at the same table, be in the same park, have a level of respect and civility, which I think is admirable. Even like on the same street, not even necessarily like in whole other sides and neighborhoods and cities, which I think is pretty cool. Another thing that I've been sort of reflecting on is about how time feels. And it's interesting because at certain points, time has felt really fast or really slow. I can't believe that it's been like almost 6 weeks that I've been backpacking through Asia. And also, like, I have so much time, yet it's going by so fast. Most of you probably know that I'm not coming back to North America until the beginning of May. So I still have a lot of time, but I feel like I've done so much and seen so much in like 5-6 weeks. Wow, I've had so much time, but also I feel like I blinked and it's happened so fast. I'm like, it's already been like a whole month in Indonesia and a week and a half in Malaysia, and now I'm in Bangkok. Time flies, which makes me so grateful for those teeny tiny moments. And, you know, I still do my like yoga, meditation, pranayama, etc. almost every single day, pretty much every single day, and really try to take those moments to be thoughtful and take it all in. And when I walk around, to really like look up and not be on my phone at all. Also, because I need to save data, you know. Something really cool that happened while I was in Malaysia was seeing a bunch of the same travelers. And for the first time ever in my life, I stayed in a mixed room hostel. So it was like male identifying people, female identifying people, or non-binary identifying people in the same room. It wasn't separate female and male because those rooms were full, and this hostel was rated like by far the best in the whole city. So I made some friends that were male, and then a bunch of us did a bunch of sightseeing together, found out that we were going to the next city. I had already booked my stay, and he was like, oh, this place looks like highly rated. He ended up staying there as well. And then he went off to Singapore. I went up to Penang, and then he ended up being in Penang. So it was just really nice, like platonic human around-ish my age, but we kept bumping into each other, and it's just so funny because now I'm in Bangkok and a friend from Bali is here in Bangkok. So this whole traveling like people like vibe of Southeast Asia, it just keeps happening with the same people. Every traveler that I meet, they just came from Indonesia, or they're going there, they're in Thailand, or they're coming from it, they're on their way to Vietnam, or they just went or Malaysia. So that feels pretty cool. And the last thing that I wanted to take a moment to talk about is a realization of mine about being less uptight. It's definitely a practice, not a perfect, but I find myself increasingly less uptight when it comes to germs or bugs or schedules. And sometimes they're just around. It happens. I put my hat on before I put a helmet on when I like ride a motorcycle, like a Uber version, but a motorcycle. Grab or Gojek are the two apps that are mostly in Southeast Asia. I'm not like, lice, like whatever. But in general, I'm just kind of living my life, doing the best I can. I'm not sanitizing. Sometimes I don't even bring my hand sanitizer, but if I really need it, I do. But like sometimes there's bugs around. Sometimes things are messy, or, you're like, okay, these sheets look clean. There's a stain, but it's probably, they were cleaned anyway. But like, you got to do what you got to do. And I feel pretty proud of myself for being increasingly less uptight when it comes to things not being like perfect in the way that I thought they should or needed to be in order for things to be great. So proud of myself for that. Had a whole soup and then saw a big dead bug in it when I was like basically done, and it was definitely in there the whole time. But I didn't freak out. I didn't ask for my money back. I didn't throw up. I was like, well, that's less than delightful, but I'm already done, so it is what it is. I guess it's a good thing that I didn't eat it, although, people are into bug protein these days, but it's a no from me, dog. So yeah, signing off. That was Malaysia. I liked it. Didn't feel the same magic that I felt in Bali, to be honest. I think other people share that sentiment as well. You should go to experience it for yourself. Some parts like Penang and Malacca were super cool. KL's like a lot of malls. Food was amazing. People were nice. But I wouldn't say it had that essence of magic that I felt in Indonesia, specifically in Ubud, or that I've started to feel here in Bangkok. Yeah. Love you all. Sending so much love and light. Bedtime soon. And yeah, bye.